everybody. My name is Eric McLeod.
And I'm Chris Holden.
And this is Low Blow Radio Podcast. This is not your typical blow-by-blow. Chris, what are we doing here tonight?
We're going to start off with our new rapid blow format. It won't be like this every time, every show, but since there wasn't a Dynamite tonight, but we still really wanted to put together a podcast of some sort, we thought what we'd do is we're going to kind of quick fire go through the last UFC pay-per-view from the weekend. We'll touch on NXT tonight. We watched that with the go-home show, obviously, to this weekend's Takeover 30. And we'll look at Raw and SmackDown as the go-homes to SummerSlam, which will be this Saturday night. And we'll do some blow-by-blows for SummerSlam and for AEW Dynamite. But, yeah, that's what we thought. We'll fire off with some rapid blow tonight. So we're going to get through it tight.
Absolutely, dude. Try different kind of format shake up here, and yeah, plenty to catch up on. We missed out on doing a blow-by-blow on this UFC card, so why not kind of try to give our take on things here? Because yeah, a lot happened on this, and plenty to talk about in the world of MMA. So you caught the main card, I'm assuming. Did you catch the pre-show at all too, or? I
caught a couple of the matches on the pre-show. If you like the pre-show and want to know what happened on that, read the results online. We're gonna stick with the main card. Kicked off with John Dodson versus Merab Dashwali. Bantamweight bout. I thought it was a good fight. Did you saw the card, right, eventually? I think you were ill that night, right?
I did. I caught the first half, and then I ended up coming a little bit under the weather, so I had to kind of catch up on things later on. Luckily, it wasn't spoiled for me, so I was able to come in pretty fresh with things. But yeah, this was a great sort of showing for Dashwali over Dodson, who has looked okay at 25, is choosing to go up here to bantamweight at 35. Could never quite find that stepping. That's where he sort of started in the UFC. That's kind of where we got to know him from that Ultimate Fighter and that kind of stuff. And yeah, he again is just sort of ran into a young up-and-comer guy that's on a 5-fight win streak that really showed it here in this fight. It was a 3-round decision, but a decisive decision, I think, for
sure. Unanimous, all 3 rounds. I had it down that way as well. If John Dodson's being treated as a gatekeeper, Merab got through the gate. So let's see what's next for him. I'm interested to see him in the next fight, though, because I thought it was impressive, and I thought it was a good fight.
Yeah, for sure. And there's maybe some new blood down at 25, so maybe Dodson's got a reason to drop again. Who knows? So see what happens there.
For sure. I think Dodson's an entertaining guy. You can put him up against almost anyone and get a decent fight out of him. And I don't know if it much matters anymore for him or for UFC if he wins or loses.
Yeah,
I don't see him getting in title contention again, no matter what division he's in. So I think he's in that position now of, send me the young up-and-comers after they're ready. When I'll be their first big win, or if they're going to beat me, right?
For sure. Name and star, someone to always touch on there, right? We lost a little bit of Chris's screen here.
Went cloudy.
We'll let him reset and get readjusted. The next match we had Daniel Padilla taking on Herbert Burns in the 145 division, the featherweights here. This was a second round TKO, punches in the crucifix here.
That looked nasty.
He looked really, really strong and good in this matchup here. This is so close to the end of that round, but the position and the punches, you definitely had the finish solidified there for Padilla.
Yeah, once you wind up in that crucifix position and you can't get out of it, there's nothing you can do. And he was raining down shots. So finally stopped. Minute 30 minute 30 into the round, or minute 30 left in the round, but nasty looking scar over the left eye.
Yeah. He left looking pretty roughed up at the end of that one. Next up, we had the heavyweights jumping into the heavyweight division there with Yosin Strike taking on Junior Dos Santos, another sort of gatekeeper, so to speak, in the UFC. Definitely a bit on the upswing, looking pretty decent in the first half of this matchup until, like everyone else, if you run into Rosenstrike's power, he just, there's not much else you can do. And that happened here to Dos Santos for sure.
Yeah, for sure. The Freddie Mercury mustache could not save him. And
it was the night of the mustaches. I remember that. He had a mustache. John Anik had a mustache. Someone else had a big epic mustache. It was like, I don't know if they were all, doing this intentionally or in sync. I don't know. But yeah, this was the night of the stash for sure. But it didn't win him the match.
Rosenstruik moves to 11-1, so puts himself in contention potentially. What do you think? And that's a former UFC champion he's beaten.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big name, nice big name. I think definitely puts him right up there with like Lewis, with the other sort of like top names in the division. It seems like the UFC wants to go with Ngannou next, but I mean, right now there could be all kinds of shakeups in the heavyweight division.
Certain John Bones Jones,
right? So
certain Johnny Bones Jones throwing his name in the hat is certainly trying to mix things up.
Exactly. So I think there's plenty of potential for Rosenstruik here. I think Lewis makes the most sense, but who knows what could happen next? But I think definitely top 5 for sure.
Yeah. Sean O'Malley, 12-0 going into his fight with Marlon Vera. Now he's got a loss on his record. What did you make of this?
This was, a little unfortunate for him. He obviously suffered some kind of a knee or foot injury, ankle injury at some point in the match, where he either walked over weird on it or some sort of a misstep that I remember going back and seeing. Unfortunate. He sort of seemed to try to do what he could to recover. Eventually ended up on the ground. Vera got on top of him, really laying in the punches. It was definitely not a I think it would be challenged in a lot of people would be arguing the stoppage if it wasn't for the leg and that kind of stuff, right? I think he, right as soon as the ref went to stop him, he wasn't going after his face or trying to cover up. He was going after the leg. He was obviously, nursing an injury there that was hurting more so than he was letting on, and the punches and that kind of stuff just seemed like maybe a way out or whatever. That maybe he just sort of. Or not to take anything away from Vera either. He looked really strong and took advantage of the situation there for sure.
Look good. I was thank God for replays, because I had it as a huge KO, and then after they saw the replays, like, he didn't knock him down. He rolled his ankle, and that's why he took the shot and went down, and that's why he kept taking the punches. So in the hindsight of it, I guess rematch down the road wouldn't be out of place.
No, for sure. I mean, a bit of a misstep here for Sean O'Malley for sure. First big loss, but I mean, young guy, you're gonna, you're always gonna you hope you just sort of live and learn from something like this. And I think you could either rematch them right away. Vera definitely getting more notoriety off of a win, though, off of the name they were trying to make off of O'Malley at this point. Yeah. So he could certainly take another matchup in between if O'Malley's nursing something, because this certainly wasn't a fast one. But first step up into the sort of co-main event for O'Malley, and I believe for Vera as well. But nice showcase for Vera, not so much for O'Malley, especially with the finish of it. But I think I'm not sure what to make of coming out of this. Did you hear some of the controversy with the fact that he was taken out on the stretcher?
No.
There's not a lot of people, but some people more like the Ben Askren types and stuff like that are saying that he should have, just sort of toughened up and had his team carry him out and that kind of stuff, and being stretchered out made you sort of look like, you weren't in it to win it in this fight kind of thing. But I mean, you never know the situation. I would never want to call anything on Sean O'Malley. He was obviously doing his best to try to win this fight, but he didn't manage to take it home on this night.
Ben Askren talks too much.
What? No way. Never.
Let's go to the heavyweight main event, the big main event, the main event of the summer for the UFC. Stipe Miocic defends the UFC World Heavyweight Championship and the title of baddest man on the planet against DC Daniel Cheeseburger Cormier. Never met a cheeseburger he didn't like. And I had this down as 4 rounds to 1. And the 1 round I gave to Cormier was probably generous in round 2 because it could have gone either way.
It was close, but...
And I honestly felt like the biggest talking point coming out of the match may well have been the swollen eye of Daniel Cormier and the eye injury, what he's going to sustain coming out of it. I hope it's not Bisping level and something that's life-altering for him, because that's just sad to see for any pro sports, right? Yeah. But I'd love to see something happen with these gloves. I get it. You can't have closed fists. I get it. It can't be like a boxing glove. But there's other gloves out there that have angled ends to them, so your fingers are kept in a claw.
Yeah.
So you still got use for the ends. You can still do grabs and holds, but you can't do this and just jab a man in the eye. And I'm sure it was inadvertent, and I also don't think it had any bearing on the outcome of the fight. That's my feeling on it. I think Stipe had it regardless, and Daniel at that point was already beaten. But it certainly didn't help, and it's certainly something that they've got to figure out a way around. Avoid, like, do something to stop this.
Yeah, no, it becomes a real unfortunate, like, other thing that's sort of tacked on to this end of the trilogy here. An unfortunate sort of, black tag leg left on top of this here, but
you wanted to say a black eye on it, right?
but again, I should have. It was the perfect opportunity for it. But yes, it was the sort of little bit of the black eye on this matchup here, where you're expecting a little bit more out of these two. Not expecting more, but you wanted something to. A perfect clean finish is always better than something that's a little more tainted with an injury like this. But
I thought it was a classic of a fight.
Yeah,
I honestly thought it was a classic heavyweight fight. Like, Cormier was heart and soul in it, and as much as he looked beaten in the third round, there were partway through the fourth and definitely in the fifth, you could see him waking up a bit and trying to get competitive again. And I'll never talk shit about Daniel Cormier's heart and his passion for the sport. That's for sure. It's unquestioned. No. And his pride for himself and his performance is also unquestionable. And he put that on again in that fight. And to have the heart and to keep coming back and to keep trying when he knew, he must have known in his heart and hearts, his corner telling him, he needed a knockout in that fifth round. He knew he needed a KO. And he knew it was unlikely at that point. But he kept trying for it and keeping himself alive and keeping himself in it. And there's so much respect for the man for that. But it made the fight so much more entertaining and enjoyable to watch. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think they mention it in the commentary and they show it in the fight, obviously, and that's why they talk about it. But the fact that this was a great trilogy too, where it was like you had that first one and it was that like you hadn't seen Stipe be stopped by a big punch like that or Cormier's sort of speed, and then it's like the next one you sort of, okay, where do you adjust and learn from here, and then what works, what doesn't, that you bring into the next fight, and then you saw those adjustments and those change ups and stuff that these guys are able to sort of work out in this sort of trilogy. And that's what's a lot of fun to see, rather than just sort of the same match repeating itself kind of thing. This was definitely a different level from both guys in there to win it all the way into this fifth round. So a great sort of cap off to this UFC pay-per-view. Absolutely.
And another trilogy of fights where the third fight goes to the winner of the second fight. There was an interesting thing I'd seen earlier in the day in the percentage of it, which I didn't write down, but it was over 60. I think this might have tilted it from 66 to like 69 or 68%, something like that. So, right. Yeah, it's the guy learning from the first defeat is more often than not likely to win that third fight, it seems. So
for sure, and it's always
going forward too.
Sometimes always leads to the more fun trilogy as well. When someone's like maybe on the big rise and they have to make the comeback or whatever. So that story is always fun to tell, and tends to happen maybe a little more often than the opposite side of things. So anything else you'd like to cover for? Yeah, no, I thought fantastic pay-per-view for sure. I think a great sort of pay-per-view showing for the UFC. We'll see what's next for them. They've got one coming up this weekend, and then I think the UFC train just keeps on rolling, as always. Bellator as well is coming up this weekend. So, yeah, we'll have plenty of MMA coverage to cover on LowBlowRadio, the radio show that we do on 88.7 The River. I think that's about it for the quick little blow-by-blow we were going to do of the UFC 252, I think it was. Would you like to move on to what else is going on in the world of pro wrestling?
Let's move on to pro wrestling. I didn't watch Raw because it sucks now. I did catch the ending because I had to see Randy Orton punt Ric Flair, and I'd heard that was going to happen. That was this week, right? Or was that last week?
No, the punt to Ric Flair was last week. This week was Shawn Michaels.
Good God, that's right.
Didn't watch either
Shawn Michaels selling the punt. That's right.
Yeah, they do start to blend together when you don't watch the shows. I know what it means.
I know they did sit underground with Dolph Ziggler and one of the Vikings, so that next week again they've actually got a match scheduled for next week now, right?
Sure, yeah.
Against another Viking Raider.
Okay.
So anyway, moving on from that shit show, we watched NXT tonight in place of AEW because that wasn't on, so we'll give NXT a shot. And just in a nutshell take on the show, is that you can sit. It's like a WWE product. You said this on the radio show a while ago, and I think you nailed it on the head. WWE products are not designed for sitting down and trying to invest in a long-term product, long-term stories. They are, if you have some time to sit down and watch, sit down and join in and watch. And you might, if you're into wrestling and into that stuff, you'll probably enjoy the show because you don't need to have followed last week. You don't need investments in the character. We'll catch you up on the really important stuff. And this show, it's a go home for NXT Takeover 30 on Saturday night. I didn't feel it was a typical go home show as far as WWE go home shows on Raw and SmackDown have been in the past for me. But it fit all the boxes. It clicks all the boxes, right? We saw all of the guys that are going to be appearing and starring Saturday night. We had a good promo video for the World Championship, or the NXT Championship match with Keith Lee and Karrion Kross.
Yeah.
It was a good show. I was entertained. I don't want to switch over on a Wednesday night. I wouldn't make me a regular viewer. But if AEW's not on, hey, I got some wrestling to watch, and it doesn't make me want to vomit. So.
Yeah, absolutely. The in-ring stuff is always fantastic, and then they again, like you said, they do their best to sort of catch you up on what's going on. Like the WWE wheel is always, it's just that constant churn of the wheel over there at WWE. That's just sort of a different thing that sometimes you have to adjust to. And even with what's going on with NXT right now, over the last couple of weeks, they were building to this over this whole show. It was really focusing on the North American title ladder match tournament and that kind of stuff, and the final matchup that's going to happen at the Takeover. And they've had a few sort of flubs along the way. They had it seemed like it was built around having different sort of guys in the matchup, like Dexter Lumis and things like that. He unfortunately had the injury and things like that, so they had to sort of shift things around and change it up. But again, they know not to sort of dwell on a lot of that sort of things, just sort of like focus on what they can to sort of just drive home the Takeover that's coming up this weekend. They focused a lot on this particular title, but just gotta try to keep things in your mindset of what you're going to see, similar to what you're going to see on Saturday. I think was certainly the drive for sure on this episode.
We had two big qualifiers to open and close the show for the ladder match, which we being told is a 5-way ladder match for the NXT North American Championship on Saturday. We knew that Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, and Cameron Grimes were booked for it. We were going to get the two final participants tonight between the first match, which was Johnny Gargano up against Ridge Holland.
Yes.
And then the main event, Finn Balor against the returning, controversy-riddled Velveteen Dream. Was it a car crash? Was it self-imposed exile? Does he send inappropriate pictures to minors on YouTube? Who knows?
Oh boy, yes. allegedly, but we never know what's going on with the Velveteen Dream. Was this too soon for you? It feels too soon for me with the sort of Velveteen Dream stuff. I think even allegations aside, it still feels.
I think I'll be perfectly blunt. I can't put the allegations aside. Triple H can say we've done an investigation. I've read firsthand people saying, "Well, I'm one of the people that made these allegations, and nobody asked me a single question."
Yeah.
Well, that means there's not been an investigation, right? Fucking Batman would go and ask somebody questions. He's the world's greatest detective, and even he wouldn't have decided it's case closed without asking the fucking alleged victim a question or two. Yeah. So I can't just put it past, right? So, and Triple H trying to say it was down to a car accident, and then tonight in storyline we're being told it was a self-imposed sabbatical because he lost to Adam Cole.
Yeah.
I don't like that either. I think if it was a real life, it was a car accident, and that's what will then address that as the thing and give me that as his reason. I don't know. I didn't like it, and I don't
know if a car crash makes sense. They were clearly going like heel with the character again here. He's obviously going more in that direction with the return, which I think is obviously better for the character. But yeah, I think along with you, maybe everything else going on with him is a little too overwhelming, or like still thought about instead of what you should be focusing on. You're focusing on the outside stuff, which is totally understandable. Feels like there should be an investigation. There should be some more answers to this sort of story that just sort of seems to be getting tossed under the rug here, and they just seem to want to roll things on here. So again, it was one of those sort of back of your mind things, and like I say, we could
but not too far back. That's the thing. If we could push it further back, it wouldn't bother me so much, I guess. But I can't back it off that far right now.
No, so, for sure.
Yeah, it was just awkward and uncomfortable feeling, and then especially that he goes on to win the match. So he's claimed the 5th spot in the ladder match. Johnny Gargano won the first match. The match itself as well, I thought was okay, or actually pretty good, until the point when Cameron Grimes came out and started the business with the ladder and the championship belt.
Right.
You knew, I think it was inevitable, the show is going to close with all 5 of the guys that are going to be in the ring getting involved somehow. But it took away from the bout as soon as that happened. I'd have rather seen a decisive conclusion. And then one by one, the next 4 guys come out and get into it, finish him with, as we saw, it was Bronson Reed they let close the show, holding the belt loft and standing tall, as Morrow said. So,
yeah, I mean, once you saw Cameron Grimes, you sort of were expecting that sort of the rest of the ladder match participants to start trolling out as well. But
let the clusterfuckery begin.
Exactly, but I kind of agree too that maybe that sort of schmozzing and brawling type deal didn't happen soon enough. Grimes came out and was sort of distracting and interfering in the match in that sense and being on the outside of it for a fair bit of time. Yeah, that maybe I mean, I'm not going to complain because I really like Cameron Grimes, but I would complain in this match. It did take away from the match.
Yep.
I get that it added the distraction so that they weren't able to just focus on having a solid one-on-one match that maybe we'll get down the road or something like that, if that's what they're trying to allude to or whatever. But yeah, you sort of, as soon as I saw Cameron, first thing I thought was, okay, he's going to interfere and it's going to be, because what it's supposed to be 5, we're going to get a 6-man ladder match.
That's what I thought for a while too. When the ref got taken out, I thought for sure we're going to get both of them. We're going to get added now.
Yeah. So then it turned out Finn was taken out by Timothy Thatcher. So it could still go either way. They could go 7 men and add both of them, or they could have Thatcher and Finn having a singles match on Saturday or down the road. I'm not sure where this goes.
Next week, maybe on NXT, we'll see Finn versus Tim Thatcher, and that start off a thing with them. For me, the other highlight
to have Finn in the ladder match, though, like he's doing such great work here in NXT. I felt like it's kind of a shame not to have him.
Definitely,
I don't think it's. I'm 50-50 with it.
I agree. It's a shame to not have him in there and see him in there. I think the idea with Finn was to build him as being the strong guy. If he's in that ladder match, he better win it. If he doesn't win it, now he's less off than he is being taken out in this cheap fashion by the Dream and being prevented because of what Thatcher did in a match that was such a schmoz anyway, right? I could see that as the rationale, particularly that it's WWE, right? We don't like clean finishes and clean endings to stuff, so.
Yeah, and he can justify his claim for the title down the road too. He doesn't from being sort of taken out by Thatcher here and interrupted, that kind of stuff. He could look for a more clean opportunity when they have a clean title. But yeah, you were saying what else sort of stood out to you on this NXT Wednesday evening?
My other highlight of the night was the McAfee Adam Cole bit. To be honest, I quite like the video package for Cole for Adam Lee or
Keith Lee,
Holden, Keith Lee, and Karrion Kross coming up. But it's video package versus the being there. I would have preferred to see real life interaction in the go home show. So the fact that we got the real life interaction in this feud, which I hadn't been too hot on. I'm not big on outsiders coming in from the pro sports world, and I don't buy a lot of. I get he's a kicker or punter, and so he punted him, and that's why it was so devastating. But we've seen lots of guys kick Adam Cole in the head. No man's kick in the head is any better than another man's kick in the head. You can be more accurate with it. That's about it. So, didn't like how that had to be sold, and I don't. But what I will say from tonight is Pat McAfee should be giving classes on promos and classes on acting to a lot of the guys and girls as well. Braun Strowman should sit with him for 20 minutes, and he could have helped him walk him through a lot better facial expressions for things lately.
Right.
Because I thought he's great. I thought McAfee really sold it well. The promo was pro level pro wrestler, and his reactions to stuff. I thought he looked like you would actually look if you were being intimidated by a pro wrestler who just took out your posse around you, and now he's staring you down, telling you he's going to make you his bitch. It wasn't the over-the-top face, and it wasn't,
I thought the sell at the very end was the only part that I actually really liked from Pat. The promo put me to sleep, to be honest. I like he's so boring on the mic to me, and the rest of the guys just standing there like arms crossed, like not even paying attention to the crowd, just like hating on this guy. And again, even if it was I'm not saying he's bad on the mic. He was half decent. He's definitely way better than some wrestlers I've definitely seen. But this isn't, as much as I enjoy the soap opera of wrestling and the fact that promos is a big part of it, it wasn't a part of everybody. Not everybody cut great promos. He's going to be, like, I really doubt he's going to be great in the ring. So I don't really care how great you are on the mic. Like, it doesn't matter to me how much you talk, because it's just going to be a boring match and bad for Adam Cole. I feel like it's a punishment for him for no reason to be stuck in this terrible situation with Pat McAfee. Like,
on that end of things, I gotta wait and see what he's like in the ring.
He could blow my mind on Saturday, and I could be. You could totally shut me up for sure, but that's totally on him to prove that. Like, in whatever time he's been training or trying to do this, if they believe in this sort of opportunity, and they obviously have the facility to have practiced this type of thing, if they have something in mind that's going to work, for sure, I'm down to see what can happen there. But yeah, to me, it was like, even as interesting as he could be on the mic, it took all the interest just drops out, because I know the match can't be good. Because, like, as interested as you could be in the guy, it's just like, well, now I don't want to see you have a match with Adam Cole, because it's not going to be any good. Like, as soon as they get in there and kind of brawl and have their first kind of mess up, you're like, oh man, but like, I mean, he said he was going to make him his bitch, and he said he was going to do all, he was going to fuck him up and do all this stuff, and he was a way better athlete than him and all this. But I mean, they could totally prove me wrong. But I mean, he's putting himself on quite a pedestal to prove a point at that point, right? Or to just humiliate himself, if that's the point. I don't know.
I gotta first of all, yeah, and I don't want to suggest that the promo was unique or original, and that's it. I thought it was good mic work from the way, like you said, the delivery was.
Oh, for sure. I think the delivery, cadence, that kind of stuff.
He gets what he's doing there. But I mean, I got along with that. I don't buy it's a shoot. I didn't buy from week one on McAfee's show that this.
Would it not have been more fun if he was like a manager then, though? I feel like if he had someone else that he was yelling and saying all that stuff. And
we know what they're like. Again, this is our WWE stuff. And again, right, and I've seen other people have to defend themselves on, well, if AEW did it, you'd think it was cool. Probably not, because I didn't like the Tyson interaction particularly either, for the same reasons. Like, outsiders from wrestling, unless there's a very good reason or you trained. We saw with Tyson Fury the last time they did it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work, typically. Yeah. So, yeah, Saturday, the proof will be in the pudding of Saturday night. The only one I can think of that really proved me wrong was LT, right, with Bam Bam in that WrestleMania match that I thought was going to be fucking hideous. And then Lawrence Taylor ended up being actually pretty fucking good.
Yeah, so like I'm interested enough to see it, and like I just really hope it's not what we all kind of expect it to be, which is like not great for Adam Cole. and I don't understand if this is the way to turn Adam and the Undisputed Era face too, to use an outside person. I that's confusing as well, but oh well, we're in a weird, confusing era. Any other matchups coming up for Takeover that you're excited that they were sort of building for here?
That I'm excited for? No. The women's championship match was they hyped that up.
Unfortunately, barely sort of touched on it. Yeah, Dakota Kai had a quick sort of squash match, a quick little 3-minute thing there, cut a promo, and then was attacked by Io Shirai. She's the number one contender. I could almost see the switch happening, but again, this particular show wouldn't necessarily tell you that. I'm not too familiar with the feud. We definitely got the return of Gonzalez there to help her out, so it seems like she's got her kind of muscle back, and that could be
seemed to be their main thrust of storytelling with this title match. Even is if there is a switch, it's going to be revolving around Gonzalez. I quite like the Robert Stone brand group, Aliyah and Mercedes Martinez against Rhea Ripley and Shotzi Blackheart and her tank tonight.
That was fun. She's got really entertaining offense. Shotzi, I think she's coming into her own, especially in WWE style. And
I liked Aliyah in this match as well. I thought she was entertaining both on the offensive side of it and when she was taking moves. She sells well.
Yeah, she sells really great, and she's becoming a proper heel. It's not too over the top. She's like toning it down just enough that she's got a character now, and I feel like it's working. Mercedes Martinez is definitely a veteran. You could see it in the ring, working with these other women. That definitely has a little bit of an edge in that sense, but it definitely helps, I think, having matches with those girls. Weird. I'm not really sure where they fit on the Takeover card. I had to look that up. What did you make of the spot though where Rhea did the power bomb on the outside? Because to me it sounded like it looked cool, like cool-ish, but it sounded like she did it onto boxes, and then when they cut to her, she was on concrete, which is obviously what happened. But it just you couldn't have cut the audio out or cut it a little sooner. Because I swear I heard boxes.
That first camera angle on it, you clearly see. She lands Gargano style. We'll talk about that in a moment. She lands Gargano style on her head. Because her back, you could see too much of her back came up into the air before the landing. But that's when I realized we didn't actually see her land.
No, yeah, because when you cut to the camera, she's already on the fucking freaking ground.
Yeah, the replay was the same thing. And I'm like, oh, okay. So they crashed her onto a pad for sure. And now we're just seeing the aftermath on the concrete. So that was interesting.
These camera cut things are just super weird. That was weird to me. And again, when I watch AEW, I'm watching it on Fight, and when they do the picture-in-picture stuff, it doesn't go picture-in-picture. It just has no commentary, and it just has the match. Now, they had the picture-in-picture on this show. I was watching it on the USA feed, and they, the picture-in-picture is weird, and their timing for commercials is very strange. And again, I don't watch a lot of live WWE stuff, and that's just maybe some of their cadence stuff, but especially in that main event, and it was happening a bit in the tag match too, where they just were going to commercial so early, where it was just they let the heat happen a little bit and then go to commercial. There's just 2-3 minutes is a little bit nicer than a minute in. Oh my god, the match just started.
Even when they would do it on Raw in the past, it would happen as a guy was thrown out or rolled out of the ring, so you knew you weren't actually missing action. You're missing a lot of crowd chanting and that kind of stuff. But tonight, a lot of the picture-in-picture was actual action. And I don't know if that's – I guess it's got to be a deliberate thing of NXT to try to, again, put across that we are the wrestling show, not so much the entertainment show.
Right.
But it's distracting and it's a little disappointing because the commercial is the larger screen. It's harder to see it. I want to see the wrestling. So briefly, I'd mentioned the Gargano spot.
I was going to say, I stepped on a great transition you had earlier there where you were talking about necks. And yes, this opening match we had between Johnny Gargano and Ridge Holland had a botch that people have been talking about already. I think it was reported from Meltzer last week, or whenever they taped this.
It came out during the taping or shortly after taping that there had been a terrible botch during the Ridge Holland Johnny Gargano match where Gargano had been dropped on his head and action was stopped for a while Triple H and Shawn Michaels, along with the training crew and stuff, came out to check on Gargano. I remembered reading that they didn't reshoot the move and continue the match until the next day. Right. But it might have been that evening. It might have been later. I won't claim to know that. But obviously, from whatever point they started reshooting, we got an edited version that just went from the botch on, which I was shocked. I didn't think we'd ever get to actually see it, but my God, that was nasty. The man's lucky he's walking, right?
Yeah, I mean, I forgot about it until it happened, and then the story just kind of came flooding back to me, and the whole sort of talking about Johnny's neck and stuff like that. And I was, legit worried for him in this, after seeing the hit. I mean, more so since you knew the story, but this is a guy who can sell for sure, but he can, if he's selling to bait you in on something like that, which was, I guess, the story, he just wasn't having that other response that well when he would be like, aha, I got you kind of stuff. Yeah. It just wasn't coming across. He just seemed to barely be there, trying to just keep this performance going and putting this match on, trying to lead Ridge through it as well, who seemed very lost after he had heard him as well. It just seemed, you were just sort of seeing a lot of discombobulation and sort of
which was a shame because it was a great match. It was the technical heel skullduggery of Johnny Gargano versus the brute power and strength. They played that matchup perfectly. Gargano was excellent. I think the man could have a match with a broomstick and put on a great show. So, and I like the kid Holland. I think he has a good match as well. He's got a good size to him.
Yeah.
As Beth Phoenix said right at the start, he reminds her of a young Rick Steiner, the rugged and athleticism. And I got that as the match went on. And he drops people on his head like Steiner used to do as well. So she was a
Hey.
very apt comparison she made without even knowing that was going to happen.
Yeah, way to go, Beth. Yeah, geez. They couldn't have retaken that either on this taped show, but hey, you never know.
And of course, we'd be remiss without mentioning that Breezango and Isaiah Swerve Scott took on El Lagardo del Fantasma, Santos Escobar, Joaquin Wilde, and Mendoza!
You just wanted to say Mendoza, right? That's the only reason we're covering
Mendoza!
this. This was not a bad tag, my 6-man tag. It definitely had the lucha
Good match.
stylings early on, and everyone sort of had their focal points, action points, that kind of thing. Seems like it was leading to having, obviously, Breezango moving on to, I guess they're going to do a 3-person tag match for number 1 contenders for the tag belts. Because I thought that was kind of weird that the tag belts aren't really being talked about for Takeover. They seem to be an afterthought, which is unfortunate right now, where they used to be very, very important in NXT, whereas now they've sort of definitely taking a step behind, which, I mean, things can always change the shift and flow with stuff. And if they don't have the teams to support it, that's understandable too. So
who would have ever anticipated a tag team title in the WWE somewhere gets lost in the shuffle?
Surprise.
Color me shocked.
And but yeah, I'm a big fan of Isaiah Swerve Scott from his other like indie stuff, so happy to see him getting a kind of push here. Obviously it's leading to a singles match against Escobar, so that should be fun.
Fucking Cloud.
We've lost Chris a few times here today, but we're gonna make our best of it. He's back.
I'm just happy, and they must be thrilled to have Fandango back, because he took on again. He shouldered the brunt of the work in the match. He takes and sells the brunt of the offense. He's such a great veteran hand to have, and I'm sure he's an excellent teacher to have around these young guys as well. Yeah. So yeah, I think they must be thrilled to have him back, and I'm happy to see him too. He's excellent.
Breeze is starting to come into that same kind of role too, it seems, as well. Like he's obviously has his training school, and then in more of this sort of working role in NXT. I think is a different kind of place for him. Unfortunately, he didn't end up with the push that he sort of could have had on the main roster. But he, again, like most of the NXT guys, you never know what's going to happen there. But they're having a pretty good fun thing here, and there could always be the great tag team breakup that you hope will eventually happen with Breezango. As much as I enjoyed them together.
It's one of those things. They may well do that. Neither one of them, I don't think, is ever going to get elevated above the mid-card status. Excuse me, particularly not to the main roster. If they get above it on NXT, great.
Yeah.
Definitely Fandango could be the main event of NXT. He certainly could handle it and shoulder it. And you're probably right. The Tyler Breeze could too. So, but as for right now, it's help out some of these other kids and get them along and help them learn.
That's right. All right, well, we're just going to do a quick little, instead of our normal blow-by-blow of this, we're just going to wrap things up here. Again, the focus of the night was the North American title, this ladder match they're building to that's coming up at the Takeover on Saturday. They had the qualifying matches. Johnny Gargano won his, and we talked about Velveteen Dream getting the surprise win over Finn Balor. So he is in the match. Velveteen, Johnny Gargano. We've got Cameron Grimes, Damian Priest, and Bronson Reed. So who's your pick? If those are our 5, we don't think Finn and Thatcher will get tossed into the mix here.
Well, I got to go with Bronson Reed after the way they closed the show tonight. I like the foreshadowing.
Right. Well,
so I'll go with Bronson. They seem to like the big man winning the ladder match, right? Otis and the ladder and the Money in the Bank, and now this guy maybe taking this. Short and stocky wins the day.
I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think I enjoy Bronson in this match. I like he's getting the push. I think they've done a weird thing with Damian Priest. He was doing pretty good as a heel, and then when they turned him face, they kind of just stepped all over him. So he needs to be elevated a little bit. A big win like this would certainly do that. So I wouldn't be opposed to that either. My heart wants Cameron Grimes, of course, because he's my favorite guy on NXT. I don't necessarily see him winning it, especially with how much hot dogging he did early on and that kind of stuff. I think, I mean, maybe down the road, maybe not quite now, but maybe the big surprise. I don't know. It would make me happy, but I would certainly maybe lean towards the Reed thing. I don't think they go with a repeat with Gargano. He can do other stuff. He doesn't need to have the title right now. Same
it could,
with
but it wouldn't surprise me. That would be my second, I wouldn't be surprised to see it if.
That's true. He wasn't heel with it. That could be a different sort of take. Velveteen as well.
A lot of that's going to depend on who is Karrion Kross going to take the big championship.
That's what I felt like too.
Fuck this cloud. It stays now. If Kross takes the title and they're going to go with a heel holding the NXT title, then babyface having the North American title makes more sense, obviously. If they're going to let Lee keep that belt, you got to have someone making the chase on a heel. So then a bad guy would, I think, have to win this ladder match.
Yeah, and if they seem to maybe be thinking Dakota's going to take a little bit of a heel run with the women's title, I'm not sure. But even if that kind of shakeup happens, yeah, you got to have a bit of a balance on the show, heels and faces as your champions. So, who do you take in that main event, though? If we're making some sort of predictions here with, what I would assume is going to be the main event. I hope it's not the Pat McAfee Adam Cole situation, but
no, agreed. But it could be. You never know with them.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised with the way some things go, and the way it was showcased on the show, and the fact that it seems like Keith Lee's a bit of an afterthought since winning the belt. But
having said that, I'm going to stick with picking Keith Lee because I think, and don't hate me, anybody who might be inclined to, but I got a feeling that they'll book it in a way similar to AEW's gone with the Brian Cage and Lance Archer monster style angle, where they don't take it at the first opportunity. So for some reason, he doesn't win this one, but he's still a monster, and he's still going to be, and they're going to try to show we have the ability to take the gravitas of a loss as well, and work with that in a story capacity.
If that's why Scarlett is the weakness or something like that, like in that same sense that Taz had the towel for Cage, that they would use Scarlett in some way.
Exactly. So I can't believe it's too soon to pull the trigger on Keith Lee and take the belt off of him, and it's too soon to put Karrion in the spot. They booked themselves into a fucking corner once again. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, I'm saying that nothing would surprise me, but that's what I think maybe they're working towards.
I think Keith Lee loses, and it's Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic that are running Retribution on Raw.
They're the right height. No, wait, Keith Lee. Dominic's not.
I think the most odd-sized people for Retribution is going to be the perfect way to unmask them, where you are just like, what? That's who it was this whole time? And the fact that the numbers keep going up. I hope when they reveal it, it's just like 2 people.
If height's a factor, it's got to be Taz and Samoa Joe, even though he's been on commentary the whole time.
Right. Oh, he's got a doppelganger there. But anyway, we're on all kinds of tangents here. What a fun place to wrap things up on this short, little different Low Blow Radio.
Blow. It's Rapid Blow.
Rapid Blow. Thank you. I forgot about the other name.
And there are new branding for a new little thing. It's all right.
It's all good. Okay, Rapid Blow. It's all right. Don't worry. Low Blow Radio Podcast. Chris, where can people hear us?
They can listen to you and me on 88.7 The River Radio in Ontario, Canada, or catch that online if you're outside of that area at 887theriver.ca. And you can catch this podcast and others like it on Sounder, which broadcasts out to Spotify and various other places.
That's right. And here on YouTube, thank you for watching. You can like, share, and subscribe. Ring that little bell. Do all the fun YouTube things. Get to the comments, all that kind of fun stuff. And yeah, we'll be back on the weekend with another Low Blow Radio podcast.
And hey, if you watched our commercial, thank you, because we're at nearly 100 views on that, which is that's our threshold to go in and having a beer. That we got 100 views on a video. So thank you very much if you watched that.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Thank you, everybody. We much appreciate it. You can say like and share that as well. It's something we had a lot of fun making, and we hope to maybe bring some more of that kind of fun stuff to you here on the channel. But yes, stay tuned here for another Low Blow Radio podcast when we bring you another Blow by Blow here on the weekend. But I'll see you then, Chris.
I'll see you then. We'll see all of you then. Take it easy.